Right now, someone is playing you. They're pulling strings you can't even see, making you dance to their rhythm while you think you're in control. The brutal truth? Your weakness isn't your kindness or your trust. It's your blindness to the game being played around you every single day. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote 5 centuries ago that everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. He wasn't just talking about how you present yourself to the world. He was warning you about how others weaponize your blind spots against you. The person who controls you doesn't need chains or threats. They simply need to be in control. They just need you to stay asleep. Think about it. When was the last time someone got you to do something you didn't really want to do? When did you last say yes when everything inside you screamed no? When did you last give your time, energy, or resources to someone who gave nothing back? It probably happened this week. Maybe today. Comment below if you've ever realized someone had been pulling your strings without you noticing, because today we're going to burn those strings forever. The game of manipulation isn't new. It's as old as civilization itself. But here's what Machiavelli understood that most people miss. The real battle isn't fought with weapons or money. It's fought in the shadows of your mind, where your reactions, your emotions, and your desperate need for approval become weapons turned against you. But that's just the beginning. What I'm about to show you goes deeper than self-help or positive thinking. These are the 5 lessons that transform you from prey into something untouchable, something that manipulators learn to fear. Lesson 1. See through masks. Picture this scenario. Someone walks into your life wearing the perfect mask. They're charming, attentive, maybe even a little vulnerable. They remember your birthday. They ask about your problems, and they make you feel special. You start to trust them. You start to open up. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, they start making requests. Small ones at first. Can you cover for them? Can you lend them something? Can you do them this tiny favor? And because they've been so good to you, because they've made you feel important, you say yes, again and again and again. Here's the harsh truth that will save your life. Genuine people don't need to perform goodness. They just are good. When someone is working too hard to convince you of their character, they're usually hiding the opposite. Machiavelli warned us, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The mask isn't just what they show you, it's what they train you to see. Real manipulators are artists. They study you like a scientist studies a lab rat. They watch what makes you light up, what makes you defensive, what makes you feel guilty. Then they craft a persona specifically designed to exploit those triggers. The shy manipulator plays helplessly to activate your rescuer complex. The aggressive manipulator uses anger to make you comply out of fear. The charming manipulator uses false intimacy to make you feel chosen. But here's your first weapon. Authentic people are consistent. Their personality doesn't shift dramatically based on what they need from you. They don't suddenly become interested in your life right before they need a favor. They don't love bomb you with excessive attention only to withdraw it when you don't comply. Start watching for the performance. Notice when someone's interest in you spikes right before they make a request. Notice when their stories don't quite add up. Notice when they seem to know exactly what to say to make you feel guilty or special or afraid. The moment you start seeing the mask loses its power, and that terrifies them more than you know. But recognizing the mask is only the first defense, because even when you can see through their performance, they still have access to your emotional triggers. Which brings us to the second lesson that changes everything. Lesson 2. Control your reactions. Your emotions are puppet strings, and right now, other people are pulling them whenever they want to control your behavior. They make you angry so you'll act impulsively. They make you afraid so you'll seek their protection. They make you guilty so you'll comply with their demands. They make you feel special so you'll ignore red flags. Here's what they don't want you to realize. The person who controls their own emotional responses cannot be controlled by anyone else. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote, "Whoever conquers himself is the true ruler. Not armies, not nations, himself. Because external power means nothing if you can't govern your own internal reactions." Think about the last time someone made you angry. Really angry? What did you do in that moment? Did you lash out? Did you defend yourself? Did you try to prove them wrong? Whatever you did, you danced to their music. They pressed a button and you performed exactly as they wanted. Manipulators are emotional predators. They don't want to have rational conversations with you. They want to trigger you into reacting from your primitive brain, where logic goes to die and impulse takes over. When you're angry, you're predictable. When you're afraid, you're controllable. When you're guilty, you're compliant. But here's your second weapon, and it's devastating: the pause. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose. When someone tries to trigger you, instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You breathe. You ask yourself, what are they trying to get me to do right now? This drives manipulators absolutely insane. They're used to people who react instantly. People who can be pushed into emotional states and then directed while they're in those states. When you pause, when you refuse to be triggered, when you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, you break their entire system. Practice this with small irritations first. When someone cuts you off in traffic, pause before you react. When someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, pause before you defend yourself. When someone tries to make you feel guilty, pause before you apologize. The pause isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally sovereign. Your feelings belong to you, not to whoever wants to manipulate them for their own gain. Master your reactions and you master your freedom. But there's something even more powerful than controlling your emotions. It's controlling the flow of what you give and what you receive. Lesson 3. Demand reciprocity. You've been taught that generosity is a virtue, that giving without expecting anything back makes you a good person, that real love is unconditional. These beliefs are beautiful in theory, but in the real world they make you a target for every emotional vampire who crosses your path. Here's the brutal reality. One-sided relationships aren't noble. They're exploitation dressed up as virtue. Machiavelli observed that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. But he also understood something else. Every relationship is a transaction, whether you acknowledge it or not. The question isn't whether you're exchanging value. The question is whether that exchange is balanced. Think about the people in your life who take more than they give. The friend who calls only when they need something. The family member who demands your time but never offers theirs. The romantic partner who expects your emotional labor but provides none in return. The colleague who asks for favors but is mysteriously unavailable when you need help. These people aren't just selfish. They're strategic. They've identified you as someone who gives without demanding reciprocity. And they're systematically draining your resources while offering nothing of value in return. But here's your third weapon. The reciprocity test. Every relationship in your life should pass this simple evaluation. Am I getting roughly equal value to what I'm providing? Not identical value. Relationships aren't mathematical equations, but proportional value over time. Start paying attention to the balance. Who always needs help but never offers it? Who always wants to talk about their problems but changes the subject when you mention yours? Who always expects you to be available but is never available for you? Here's what manipulators fear most. People who demand fairness. When you stop giving unconditionally and start expecting reciprocal value, toxic people reveal themselves immediately. They'll call you selfish for expecting basic fairness. They'll guilt you for having boundaries. They'll accuse you of keeping score. Good. Let them. Their reaction tells you everything you need to know about their intentions. Healthy people welcome reciprocity. They want to give value back to you. They want the relationship to be balanced and fair. Only manipulators get angry when you expect them to contribute equally to the relationship they benefit from. Start small. The next time someone asks for a favor, pause and consider. What have they done for me lately? If the answer is nothing, say no. You don't need to explain or justify. Just decline politely and watch their reaction. Reciprocity isn't about keeping score in a petty way. It's about ensuring that your relationships are based on mutual value, rather than one-sided extraction. And there's one more element that makes this even more powerful: controlling what information they have access to about you. Lesson 4. Master silence and secrets. Information is the oxygen of manipulation. The more someone knows about your fears, desires, insecurities, and triggers, the more precisely they can control you. Every secret you share becomes a potential weapon in their hands. Every vulnerability you reveal becomes a button they can push. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This wasn't just an observation, it was a strategy. The fewer people who know about your true thoughts, feelings, and motivations, the less power they have over you. Think about how manipulators gather intelligence. They ask probing questions disguised as concern. They share false vulnerabilities to encourage you to share real ones. They remember everything you tell them and use it later when they need leverage. They turn your openness into their ammunition. Here's what most people don't understand. You don't owe anyone access to your inner world. Your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, your past mistakes, these belong to you. They're not conversation topics or bonding opportunities. They're strategic information that should be shared only with people who have earned that level of trust through consistent, reciprocal actions over time. The fourth weapon is strategic silence. This doesn't mean becoming antisocial or dishonest. It means becoming selective about what you reveal and to whom. It means understanding that mystery is power, and vulnerability is only safe with people who have proven themselves worthy of it. Watch how differently people treat you when they can't predict your reactions or push your buttons. When someone tries to manipulate you emotionally and you respond with calm neutrality, instead of the expected emotional response, they lose their footing. When they can't access your triggers because you haven't revealed them, their manipulation attempts fall flat. Type "I refuse to be controlled" in the comments to anchor this lesson. Because controlling information is about more than just keeping secrets. It's about maintaining your autonomy in relationships where others want to strip it away. But even with all these weapons, there's one final lesson that makes you truly untouchable. It's the most powerful defense against manipulation, and it's the one thing that manipulators fear more than anything else. Lesson 5. Use detachment as a weapon. The ultimate power isn't the ability to control others. It's the ability to walk away from anyone, anytime, for any reason without guilt or regret. The moment you become uncontrollable is the moment you become truly free. Machiavelli understood that fear is the foundation of all control. But what happens when you're not afraid of losing what others think they can take from you? What happens when you're not desperate for their approval, their affection, or their resources? What happens when you become genuinely, authentically willing to be alone rather than accept disrespect? Here's the secret that transforms everything. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring more about your own well-being than about anyone else's opinion of you. It's about valuing your peace more than their presence. It's about choosing yourself, consistently and unapologetically, even when others try to guilt you for it. Manipulators depend on your attachment to outcomes they can control. They need you to be afraid of losing their friendship, their love, their approval, or their resources. They need you to believe that life without them would be worse than life with their manipulation. They need you to be more afraid of being alone than of being disrespected. But here's your final and most devastating weapon: genuine indifference to outcomes you cannot control. When you're truly willing to lose someone rather than tolerate their manipulation, you become immune to their tactics. When you value your boundaries more than their comfort, you become unmanageable. When you'd rather be alone than compromise your self-respect, you become untouchable. This isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about developing such strong self-worth that you refuse to accept treatment that doesn't match your values. It's about building a life so fulfilling that no one person has the power to destroy your happiness by withdrawing from it. Practice this with low-stakes situations first. The next time someone tries to guilt you into doing something you don't want to do, be genuinely willing to let them be upset rather than comply. The next time someone threatens to withdraw their friendship or affection, unless you meet their demands, be willing to let them follow through rather than negotiate with emotional terrorism. Detachment terrifies manipulators because it eliminates their leverage. When you're not desperate for what they're offering, they have no power over you. When you're willing to walk away, they become the ones who are afraid of losing something valuable. From prey to predator. Here's the final truth that changes everything. Once you master these 5 lessons, manipulation doesn't just become ineffective against you, it becomes impossible. Not because manipulators stop trying, but because you transform into someone who cannot be manipulated. You see through masks because you understand that authentic people don't need to perform their character. You control your reactions because you know that emotional sovereignty is true power. You demand reciprocity because you refuse to be anyone's emotional charity case. You master silence because you understand that information is ammunition, and you control what ammunition others have access to. And you use detachment as a weapon because you'd rather be alone than be controlled. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But here's what he really meant: it's better to be respected than to be used. It's better to be strong than to be liked. It's better to be free than to be wanted by people who don't deserve you. The person you become when you master these lessons isn't cruel or heartless. You're someone who commands respect because you respect yourself. You're someone who attracts healthy relationships because you refuse to tolerate unhealthy ones. You're someone who lives with freedom and dignity because you refuse to trade those things for anyone's temporary approval. The manipulators in your life will notice the change immediately. Some will respect your boundaries and adjust their behavior. Others will escalate their tactics, trying desperately to regain the control they've lost. And some will simply disappear from your life because they were never interested in knowing the real you, only in using the compliant version they thought they could control. Let them go. Every person who can't handle your strength wasn't meant to be part of your story anyway. If you're ready to crush manipulation forever, drop a cur in the comments and share this with someone who needs to wake up. Because the world needs more people who refuse to be controlled, and fewer people who accept control as the price of belonging. Your freedom isn't negotiable. Your self-respect isn't optional, and your power to choose your own path is the one thing no one can take from you unless you give it away. Stop giving it away.